Hmm.
That was that early morning.
Oh, the 8 o'clock one?
Mhm.
I think I did miss that. My apologies.
Yeah,
I did miss
you
that.
missed that one. All right. So then we just only thing we do is add that Miss Megan was not present, but because it still was 6 board members.
Yeah.
But Miss Megan wasn't. Miss Megan wasn't there. Right.
And then one other thing,
August 8th?
the 31st.
The 31st. That was at 8 o'clock in the morning meeting that we did virtually. Final hirings.
Hirings, okay. And then I just had one question on the school safety drill. It says approved exception. What is that?
In August, there aren't any students here, so we don't have to run a safety drill, a fire drill.
Okay, that's great. It's just not clear what that is.
I understand, sure. Well, we can clarify that. Yeah. So with the way the Raptor system works, you either have a drill accomplished, you don't have a drill, or you have an approved exception if there's something that occurred that caused you to not complete the task that you were trying to do. And so in August, we don't have to do a drill because again, there aren't students in the buildings at any point in time. We do it every other month. So that's why we didn't do a drill, but it's called an approved exception. So,
Okay.
we can clarify that going.
Great, thank you.
All right. Anything else?
That's good.
All right.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment.
You make a friendly amendment to add that the board meeting that was missing was Miss Megan.
Right, so I'd like to make a friendly amendment to the August 31st minutes to include the board member that was absent that morning.
Right. Yep. All right. So we've had that motion. Let's just do the second again on that. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right. Take out Lita and Spanking. Okay. All right. Any other further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, raise hand and/or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries 6-0. All right. Let's go on to our item number 5A, approval of new hires. Mr. Clemick.
We have one new hire this evening, Catherine Albrecht at the elementary school library and media.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the hiring of Catherine Albrecht as an elementary school library media specialist for the 2023-2024 school year.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Motion made. Have a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? Outside of Ms. Turner being extremely happy? All right. All right. All right. So all in favor will raise hand and/or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously 6-0. And we'd like to welcome Catherine Albrecht to the Brown Deer family. All right, let's go on to item 5B, discussing the resignations. Mr. Quimmick.
We have one resignation this evening, Courtney Krieger as the district's communication coordinator.
All right. Okay. Would someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the resignation of Courtney Krieger as the district communications and community coordinator effective October 6, 2023.
All right, a motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if that was a second or not. Okay. Okay. Motion has been made and been seconded. Any further discussion? Outside of Courtney definitely will be missed. She had a lot of value to what we were doing in relationship to providing that communication out to our community, to all of our stakeholders, and always just kind of being a common presence within the district itself. So
And I'd like to echo that. I asked her to get on this evening. She is running around with her children, but I just want to publicly thank Courtney for 5 or 6 years that she's been in the school district. She came here and she was actually the administrative assistant to the director of teaching and learning and the registrar when she first came here. And then she has always had a passion for the communications piece. And as a district, we've been able to pour into her and grow her and provide professional development and professional learning for her, where, when you grow people and they become very strong and good at what they do, people do come after our people. And so that speaks to the great work that we do here, but she certainly will be a loss to the school district of Brownfield in that space, because she has grown exponentially in that space. So she will be missed.
She plays a very significant role in the Ed Foundation as well.
So with that being said, all in favor with raised hand and or aye? Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously 6-0 for approving the resignation of Courtney Krieger. And as we always say, once a Falcon, always a Falcon. And hopefully, Courtney will continue to potentially volunteer if she does have some time, especially with that Ed Foundation, hopefully. So, all right, let's go on to our next item on our agenda. Item C, discussion for our Strive 365. Dr. Kelsey Brown.
Yes, the MOU was sent to you all last evening. It was also, of course, posted to Board Book. If you have any questions, we have Dr. Curry and his team online here. Thank you all. Thank to each, and I thought I saw Paula too. Is Paula on? Okay.
Yeah, Paula and Tim Wolford, our new director of programming as well.
Right. Hi, Tim. It was wonderful to meet you last week at the Strive event. Kudos to your team, Brandon, for a wonderful event. Thanks for the invite. So I will turn it over to the board who might have questions regarding the memorandum of understanding, and then we'll determine next steps from there.
Board members, questions for Mr. Curry and or his team? I guess in reading over the MOU, how many students do we think that we're actually going to be able to serve effectively in the program? I see that there's like 11 sessions for certain things, 6 sessions for other things. But Brandon, how many students are we actually talking about potentially being able to impact?
I mean, I would say it's in the hundreds, but it just depends on the amount of time that we commit to cohorts of students that are put in front of us. So one of the things we talked about even at the last board meeting was having that continuity with our coaches that are there. So we're having the same coaches that were there last year come back again this year, which already kind of will give us a head start in building those relationships with the student population, but also with the staff. And then we're having additional support. So bringing on Tim as our director of programming. Brown Deer is going to be one of his main focuses, in addition to having Coach Rick back there pretty much full time, Monday through Friday. Our hope is that it'll be in the hundreds. It just depends on the depth that we would go in working with students. When I mean depth, the amount of times we're seeing them. Is it a couple times a week, once a week? The individual sessions we have with them, as well as small groups. So that will be determined based on the growth that we see with them. And in addition to that, we're one of the things in the new MOU this year for updates are the quarterly meetings or quarterly reports that we will be sending out to everyone as well.
Ms. Ramos, is there things that you guys are going to be doing any partnerships with Strive in relationship to this project?
And we will be basing all of our data. Once we send out our SEL surveys through Panorama and collect that data, we'll be able to give them kids that we would see in our tier 2 so that they can meet with Strive and have those cohorts and track them.
Okay. All right. Dr. Glass, have you been part of some of these meetings too? Because we know and theoretically, the more that our students have those extra supports or whatever, hopefully they'll be able to increase academically. So I don't know if you've had any conversations as well too.
Yes, sir. I said in the meeting at the end of the school year just to set program expectations and how to better track services and impact for students.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Any other board members have any other questions in relationship to Strive 365?
A question I have is, what's the anticipated cost
50,000. So I was looking for that too. It was it's the very last page, like almost the second to the bottom. Because I'm sitting there looking, I'm like, wait a minute, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? So it's at the last page. Yeah.
Trying to find as well, so yes, I did.
Yeah.
I thought that was the end.
Yeah, I did too. And I was like, wait a minute. So I already knew what my questions were going to be or whatever. So I just kept on going. Did my due diligence.
Hey, we weren't trying to sneak it past you. We do have an attorney on the team that wrote it, but we knew you'd be looking for that. But yeah, again, it's we're going to exhaust every effort to make sure, from last year being the first year, that this year we really focus on things such as what Dr. Glass just mentioned, as well as Principal Brown, Dr. Brown, Adi McGregory, and Ms. Ramos. We've talked countless about how to structure this to best advocate for the kids and offer that additional SEL support to the students of Brown Deer at the middle and high school level.
Shouldn't this be the 23-24 academic year? Or?
So we need to make a time. Yes, it should be.
Okay.
So we can amend.
Make some amendment to it. So, right. We'll have to make sure that we put that in there it's already in the MOU or whatever stuff, but we just need to make sure we update it on the contract.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And board members, any other questions?
Now, one other question around that, is that I don't remember the number for last year, is that the same amount?
Same number.
Okay.
We spent less.
Bless you.
We spent less last year because there was some lapse in services because of staffing. We were talking to the staffing issue. Okay.
All right. Any other questions? All right. All right. So if we don't have any other further questions, would someone like to make a motion?
That's me. Oh, that's me. Dr. Vito, I'd like to make a motion to approve to approve the memorandum of understanding with Strive 365 for the 2023-24 school year as presented.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Bacon. Motion made. Second.
Second, Dr. Peter.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion and or questions?
Can I just ask Cody a question? Cody, do you mind making the change to the contract tonight and just emailing it back over?
Yeah, sure.
Get Dr. Vito's signature.
I can sign it tonight, then.
Yeah, can you clarify for me just where I need to make the change? I see the services.
Last page.
Last page.
Last page.
Cost. Okay, bye.
Right.
Perfect. I'll send that back to you while you guys are meeting still.
Wonderful.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or discussion points? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously 6-0. Mr. Woodford, welcome back to Milwaukee, my friend.
Dr. Vito, I appreciate you. Thank you, man. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go on to our next item. Let's go
Thank you
on
all.
to. Yep.
Thank you.
See y'all later.
All
Thanks for the support. We appreciate it. Looking forward to the year.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So now remember, this is where we made a change in the agenda. So right now we'll be going to item E, discussion of performance services facilities study.
One moment, we're just setting up the tech that Bill to share.
On the call this off.
You're not in. Oh, okay.
1 second while they get, we want to share it on the screen so you'll be able to see what we're doing.
Okay, I think that people at home will be able to see it.
I don't think there's anybody else.
If he's not,
That's fine.
I don't know, Mr. Woods's and their staff members in there, I don't know.
Let's see, I get,
There are a lot of people.
try to see if we can.
Well, okay, while we're doing this, is it possible for us then to go back to, well, no, because I think there's gonna be some discussion.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
While they're getting set up, I'll give you a brief introduction just so everybody knows what's happening here. So, earlier this spring, we partnered with Performance Solutions Incorporated, which is a consulting company involved in a lot of school construction projects. And one of the things, as Matt was coming into this role, and as I've been here as the business manager for a couple of years, we recognize the fact that we really haven't had a hard look at our facilities since before the 2018 referendum. We had conversations about exactly what we thought we needed for that line of questioning when we presented that to the voters. And since then, we've obviously done a number of improvements, but we want to make sure that we had a good, basically independent third-party view as to where we are in our district. I'll walk over here so I'm not seeing. So we engaged with PSI to do that study. And so what you have in front of you, we have the hard copy of it. They're going to go through a brief presentation tonight. I don't want you to get too bogged down because it's a lot. There's a lot that's in here. There's a lot to talk about, but this is going to be the beginning of a conversation we're going to have over the next months, and especially as we start to plan out next year's budget and things like that. So this is really the starting point. I'm going to introduce the team, and they're going to go through the process they went through, and then they can give you some highlights as to where we are. We'll have some time for some questions, but I know you may not have the time to spend as deeply into this as you want to. You can go ahead and review this, and we can have a further conversation at some other point as well. So I just want to introduce the team from PSI. We have Lauren, who is kind of leading the charge, and then Craig, who is here walking around taking all the pictures, and Chris as well, who's helped out. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. Do you prefer if we stand or sit?
Whatever makes you comfortable.
All right. Well, thank you again. Yes.
Could you give your last names?
Yes, ma'am. So again, just thank you all for the opportunity to invite PSI into your district to conduct this facility study. It's been a true pleasure just to get to know some of the staff and take a look at your buildings, put it together. We hope that it's extremely useful, and we will go into the instructions here. And the project team that you see before you, there's 3 out of 5. So myself, I'm Lauren Warner. I am the Business Development Manager with Performance Services. I have been a part of the team for a little over 5 years now, but I've been working in K-12 education for a little over 16 years. I grew up in Glendale, so I am native to Wisconsin, born and raised, and went to Nicolay. My sister and her husband and family live in Brown Deer, so it's a community that's very close to my heart. And just, again, a real pleasure that we've been able to join into a partnership and do this with you all. So I will turn it over to Craig. He can introduce himself.
Craig Stranathan. I'm a senior architect with Performance Services. I've been with PSI for just over 2 years, but I've been designing schools almost exclusively as an architect for just around 20. I actually live up the road as well in Mequon, married to a French teacher. 20 years, plus years. So education is very dear to my heart. Both my parents were teachers. Got 4 kids in the school system, Mequon as well. So really excited to be able to go on this journey with you guys and figure out what the next best thing is for Brown Deer.
My name is Chris Dodd, project development engineer. I've been with PSI a little over 3 years, but 17 years working with school facilities. I am the engineering side of reviewing the buildings, and wanted to thank you all for letting us take a look at what you have here at Brown Deer.
And we have a couple of members from the team who also assisted. Bill Vogel is another senior mechanical engineer that assisted Chris in walking the facilities, taking pictures, and putting together some of the documentation. And then we also have Jim Beckman. He's our senior educational consultant. Fun fact, it's also my dad. So I always want to put that out there. But full disclosure, right? So obviously growing up in Glendale, Jim served as the Glendale River Hill School Board President for multiple years. He was also on the board as a member for multiple years. That kind of took him into the world of schools, and he shifted his career kind of midway through life and joined the Glendale River Hill School District as their facility director. So he did that for 20 plus years. And has now joined PSI. He's been with our company for a little over 7. And it's a really great perspective to have somebody who's come from the school side has worked as a board member, has lived in the facilities and kind of knows that life. To get their perspective and have them join our team has really just been such a great addition. And so we are pleased to have Jim. He's worked with Matt, and I think, we'll continue to help provide whatever expertise and guidance he can as far as long-range capital planning goes. So you'll probably see him quite a bit. He's an absolute joy and delight. So I'm not biased or anything, but we're very lucky to have both Bill and Jim as part of our team, in addition to the three of us. So.
And he did roll up on me at the conference. Like,
he met Mrs. Brown and Dr. Brown, and I think felt like she was already family. So that's how he welcomed her.
Yeah, felt like I knew him forever. So.
Yes, absolutely. So just a little bit about who Performance Services is. As Kevin had said, we are a high-performing building specialist. We are an integrated design and delivery firm. So fancy word, what that means is we have a firm of architects and engineers, project managers, and as a team, we serve and build school buildings and do a lot of different projects, integrated design and delivery projects within school facilities. A little over 95% of our business is solely with K-12 schools. It's the mission of the founder to really pick, one entity, one model, and focus on that market. In K-12 schools was that market that he focused on. We've been around for a little over 25 years. We have a local Wisconsin team that is part of your project team. Our headquarters is out of Indiana. We are in 13 different states, but have been in Wisconsin for a little over 10 years. So we're very thankful and blessed to be in this position. Our customer focus is number one. That's our number one focus is customer satisfaction. It is what we strive to do. So part of our process is really gaining that feedback from our team and the districts that we work with to make sure that we are fulfilling exactly what we told you we would do and deliver that exceptional service. Purpose of the report. I will be turning it over to Craig and Chris to kind of step through what you are going to be finding in the contents of this study. But just to highlight so that as you're going through this, you kind of know what to expect. We went through the buildings and documented key findings and recommended solutions based on the accounts of our study. We did a complete equipment inventory in all of the buildings and condition of that equipment. It also included a life cycle evaluation, included priority checklist for building improvements and site improvements, and then put that into a capital improvement plan with associated estimates so that you can see if you are moving forward with certain projects or scope, what those estimates may look like. This is definitely meant to be a living document, right? This is not something that is just kind of a one and done. It's meant to be the starting point for your future growth and planning. So this is definitely meant to be living. It's meant to be added to as you do move through and on projects, checking those off and showing your community how you are making those improvements. I think it's a really great thing. So it definitely is something that we will be continuing to update. In addition to having hard copies, we understand challenges of people being in person or virtual. So we have created an FTP site where we will house all of the documents that we've created. So it's a great way for people to go online and have an electronic version of everything that we're sharing. We'll put any presentations, the board presentation that we have tonight is in the FTP. So any communication, presentation, documents, we will house in that site as a secure location. All right, I will turn it over to Craig.
So really just to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the facility study. First off, we'd like to highlight different schools and facilities in your district. You've got a nice compact site. It's all in one contiguous location. So, and a very nice little compact town, right? So, you got Brown Deer Middle School, Brown Deer Elementary, and the Administrative Service Center as the three facilities. The main focus of the report really looks at the interior spaces and finishes, the heating and cooling systems, electrical systems, domestic water, which Chris will get into, envelope conditions, site conditions are things that I'll be looking at, as well as kind of to degree programmatic qualifications of different spaces. We'll look at your specialty spaces along with your classroom and anything else. And then also lighting. So just really quickly about a couple of the technologies that we also incorporate. We like to be really cutting edge with what we do. So one of the things that we do incorporate is a full drone flyover of the entire site. Right? And what this allows us to do is get basically rudimentary topography, some thermal imaging of the roofs and different facilities, but it also creates this kind of 3D model of the building itself. So we can look at that from different sides, different angles, and use that as a tool within our report. Builds. And then another tool that we use is a walkthrough using 360-degree cameras. And what this allows us to do is basically catalog the entire site, both inside and outside the building. So we're able to go through every room, and that really helps us when we need to go back and look at different rooms in the report, or if we're talking with teachers, with staff about different rooms, rather than having to run down to the room or just have them spend several minutes describing it. We can just jump right into the room and spin around within it, look at it, get some things. Right, as you kind of thumb through it, you'll see that the report for each building that has been separated out into each building. There's one tab for each. And it really starts out with a pretty much introductory set of information. So we look at the building square footage, when it was constructed, what grades it serves. And then we start to look at the site and the different improvements on the site. We look at parking lots. We look for issues with cracking, problems with asphalt, drainage. You see a couple of things highlighted in there, like especially the parking area behind this building is one of the places that's been suspect. We also look at your sidewalks, the paving, that. So. Also look at building envelope conditions. We'll be looking at windows, the actual walls, the roofs, trying to find if there are any deficiencies in there that we need to update. And then finally, looking at the interiors. So finishes, ceilings, flooring, paint on the walls, anything like that. Looking for any issues you might have with cracking or aged ceilings. Doors that have finishes that are kind of coming off, ADA concerns, right? Anything that's code concern.
In addition to, not to interrupt, but in addition to any deficiencies that we see, we also do highlight anything that is working well, anything that's been updated or that is new, just to really capture that whole picture, right? We definitely want to make sure and highlight all of the great things that have been accomplished and done. And so it's not just all looking at the deficiencies, it's actually also representing and allocating space for all of the things we have done too.
Quite right. You guys have done a lot of work recently, and that is reflected in the report as well as things that are in good condition.
Yes.
And then we move on to the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. So we start with a review of the heating systems for your buildings. Namely the boiler plants in the elementary school, high school, middle school, and district office, and the condition of those. We also talk about how your mechanical systems are controlled, whether that's an older pneumatic style control system, or if it's been upgraded, which several of your facilities have, to more of an electronic direct digital control system, which allows a lot more controllability and monitoring of your systems. The engineering team also looked at how you are cooling your facilities. So looking at the chilled water plant at the elementary school, your rooftop units and air handlers at the high school, and then your rooftop unit here at the district office, and providing a condition report on those pieces of equipment. We looked at the domestic water heating plants, your hot water heaters, your storage tanks, and your distribution piping. Additionally, with that, noted that your buildings are sprinklered, so that is very helpful as far as code-related items go. A lot of school districts with buildings of this age aren't sprinklered, and that poses certain challenges to the districts. We reviewed the electrical systems, mainly the main distribution. Services at the elementary school and high school have been updated more recently, so those look to be in good shape. And then we also took a look at the lighting, where there's been a push to get LED into the district, and a lot of locations have that, and I just kind of recommend completing that throughout and getting the switch over from fluorescent to LED completed. For each of the buildings, you will see major equipment inventories. So this will identify major pieces of HVAC and plumbing equipment. I'll give you a little bit of information about that piece of equipment, what it serves, where it's located, how old it is, what its estimated life is, and what condition we rated it at, good, fair, or poor, and then a recommended replacement schedule for that particular piece of equipment.
From the report, we then took a look at how we could develop the capital improvement plan. So at the end of the report, you will see a document that lists out each scope item or each recommended solution that is reported in this book. What we did is assign an estimate. So we have an estimating department within our company, and they will go through and based on what the scope is, if it's replacing, let's say, a rooftop unit, they will go ahead and assign what that cost is to replace the rooftop unit itself. It won't just be replacing cost of the unit, but labor to fix it. These are meant to be high-level estimates, right? They are not budget numbers. We didn't go out and get quotes for these. So they are meant to reflect what the estimated cost could look like. Obviously, there's a lot of efficiencies. If you are moving forward with a larger project, you can tackle multiple scopes at once and therefore eliminate multiple layers of labor or mobilization. So there are definitely efficiencies in here. There are also multiple solutions for some spaces. So you may see a significant number, and there may be 3 different solutions, right, that you could choose from. And so all of those costs are associated at that bottom total. So it's a little bit misleading, right? That's not the entire total. There may be some duplicates or even more based on if we provided 1, 2, or more solutions per item. This is definitely meant to just kind of give you what that ballpark look ahead is. We did try and predict if you are looking at any projects for next year, these are $24. And then we went ahead and inflated using 5 to 7% what it would be if you moved it out 1, 2, or 3 years. So we're trying to give you that snapshot of that capital planning and long-range planning for upcoming projects that you may be looking at accomplishing. In addition to that, we will note if there is energy savings or operational savings associated with moving forward with any of these scope items. So you could then expect to see, what your return on investment would be, or what that savings could look like for this. Anything else to note or mention on the capital improvement plan?
Just to kind of reiterate, the numbers really are, they're very high level, right? They're planning numbers. They're not, like Lauren said, they're not bids or anything like that. So it's to give you guys an idea of what that scope would cost if you were to look at incorporating that into a budget for 2024 or even looking at 26, 27.
So next steps, what we've talked with Matt and Kevin about is obviously working with the district to review this study and CIP list. There's a lot of information, so we wanted to make sure that we gave you enough time to go through there, kind of make some notes, any questions that you have, and then come back so that we could address those. So the next steps that we will be taking, we need to update the prioritizations. So we have gone through and assigned kind of that low, medium, high level prioritization based on, if a piece of equipment is, reached its life or has exceeded its life, maybe that's moved into a higher category. Also identifying groupings of projects and reviewing your utility data so that we can also give you that comparison of what are other schools in your area spending on their electrical bills or their gas bills, and provide that information to you so you can kind of see that benchmark. So those are a couple additional steps that we'll be completing. We will also be working to look at some programming meetings with staff and students. We've completed kind of the physical aspect of the study, but truly to get that full comprehension plan, we definitely think it's necessary to talk to district staff or different stakeholders, staff members, and students in particular, to talk about how their space and their programming is actually working for them. So we kind of know how the building is looking and how that's functioning. Now, how is the actual space that's being used working for the staff and the students that are utilizing these spaces? So we will work to set up some meetings where we can come in and talk to them and understand a little bit more programmatically how things are going around here. We will also talk a little bit about community engagement planning. We do work with an outside consultant who does a lot of communication. I heard, unfortunately, you just lost a communication person from your district. So I would be more than happy to introduce Doreen and Leanne. They're wonderful people who have been working in schools and really just know that communication and what it takes within the district. So if you are looking to express and kind of explain this to different community members or staff members, share information with school perceptions to look at a survey, Doreen and Leanne would definitely be part of that team that would help you formulate how does that look as far as communication goes. And then we would come back and give you some additional updates based on the next steps that we will be conducting within the district and look at future plans for next meetings. So I will pause there and open it up to the board for any questions that you may have.
All right, let me get started. All right, I was reading through everything and stuff, but then I was trying my best not to get to the back because that's where the money part was at, right?
Yes.
So I just want to understand, and I'm quite sure everybody else probably had the same questions in reading this. All right, so estimated budget range for 2024. On the low end, it would be total for Browndeer Middle School, high school would be $14,787,700. On the low end, on the high end, it'd be 17,000, right? 17 million. I was 17 million, right? So it's in between that range right there. If we did that, the things this year, right, and put it in next year's budget, and then if we waited until 2025, it goes up to 19. We go into 2026, it goes up to 20, so on and so forth, right? So I just wanted to make sure that we do that part right there, right? So then,
just a reminder though, too, as they mentioned though, there is some duplication in some of those items. So you really, there's some things where there might be 1, 2, or 3 options, and so all 3 get summed in there. So really, you're going to pull out some of the stuff. Right. It is just
ensure your low and your high. So okay, got it on that. So the high priority piece, right? That's the things that we said that you guys estimate that need to happen within the next few years. Right. Because a lot of the things that I saw when I was going through this was our HVAC and our ventilation system stuff. Everything for ventilation just seemed like it was poor that I looked at from looking through here and everything. And that was kind of concerning, especially since we had came out of COVID and, the whole thing. I thought that we had put some the bipolar ionization systems in the buildings and
we
all of this stuff. So
what it is that every piece of equipment that we have has like a time frame.
That's shelf life.
So, the shelf life of most of our systems are either going to be coming to a head, or it's going to be coming to a part where we may need to make a decision. Do we keep pouring money into the same part and keeping it running, or do we get something that's more efficient? And that's kind of where we're at with most of our devices. Now, I'm not saying that all of our devices, like the elementary school, you know, everything was put in 2019. So that we won't have to worry about the elementary school except for a couple of the minor spots. Like I believe 2 of our boilers are coming, and as far as shelf life is concerned, not saying that they're going to stop at, you know, this year and then we're gonna have to replace them. But you know, it's just something for you guys to be aware of that's coming down the pipeline where, you know, we may be coming to you guys and saying, I mean, we've done everything that we can. How much more money should we keep going into this, or is it time just to start just replacing some of these items?
And just to qualify then, when you talk about the quality of, it's not that the quality of the air is poor, it's that the air handling, as I mentioned, some of those systems are pneumatic. And so we struggle in certain areas, especially like the high school, I'll say like the music department. Brownfield was here, he would be attested to it, that it's hard to maintain temperature in some of those rooms. Humidity down, things like that, and that's part because of the archaicness of the system that is servicing those rooms. Some of the newer areas have been touched with newer systems. It works much more efficiently. There's better control, but there are areas of the building that just haven't been touched yet in that same area. So that's when we talk about a poor quality of air handling. That's really where that's focused on.
Yeah, that's a comment on the piece of equipment, not necessarily the air being distributed to the spaces.
And so I guess my next piece is looking at bottom line, because I was just looking at the high priority totals and the medium high priority totals. And if you put all of those, if you put everything together that was in here for the elementary school, the middle high school, the facilities, I mean, the outdoor facilities in this administration building could be anywhere between 6.8 million to $9 million. That actually needs to be, that you guys are saying needs to happen within the next 2-3 years minimum. So about $9 million. That's just to take care of all of the things that we need to have done, like our high priority needs right now. It's about 6.8 to 9 mil.
So if you go through each one,
Go to the very back.
yeah, but where it says total,
Total for school district of Brown here.
so you doing high and medium?
Well, what I did was I just did this. I did the high priority and then medium high priority. And I just added those together. So because those are the ones, in my estimation, to be the things that have to happen within the next 3 years. So that's why I just I'm trying to figure out how much would it really cost us. And we try to start doing some of this stuff now or whatever between I just did rough calculations between 6.8 million to 9 million, going from that low end to that high end in relationship to being able to do that.
So it seems like probably we need to do at least the high priority items, but my question is, what dictates what is high priority? For example, electronic gates at the back drive. Why is that a high priority?
That's more of a safety high priority reason where we have safety issues with people, with our students being in the back, football being in the back, and people driving back there with, I don't want to say no regards, but little regards to that there's kids having sports.
I know what it is. Exactly, it is.
You know,
So why does it have to be an electronic gate then?
well, because we found out through the elementary school that, you know, we have manual gates down at the elementary school, and they are, they're not exactly what we need. They have fallen apart. I know of a couple of incidences where the gate has actually fallen on cars. Last year, at the end of the year, we had a bus take out one because it started falling as the bus was coming through.
So you're speaking of the red and white?
Yeah, the red and white ones. Those are manual ones. So we want to try to eliminate human error and make it more mobile for just having an electronic end of it. So that way, there's a pneumatic part to it. There's no human error. We didn't put a screw in there to keep the upright up. the wind didn't knock it down. So, you know, that's what we've been getting at the elementary school, and to be honest, it's unsafe because if one of them is up and someone forgets to put a screw in there to keep the arm up, the wind can blow it, and you know, here's this 50, 60 pound bar coming down. That's, you know, not fun. And there's people around that could be worse.
So replacing theater seats, why is that medium high?
The seats are worn. They were last installed in 2009 when they did the MAC referendum, and some of them have been damaged, and the fabric is no longer available. So it's a question what we end up doing or how we end up doing it. Obviously, that's still part of the discussion we're having, but we are identifying the fact that you know, the seats in the theater are not really up to good condition anymore, and so that's something we're going to have.
Just walk around. It'll go. Hold on. It'll go.
They're not comfortable.
Okay.
It's got enough money in there, not.
All right. Okay.
So then the biggest one, and probably the most expensive of the high priority ones, is the resurfacing the track. So what's happening there? What's that?
Well, we have, I would say that we haven't had the track resurfaced since 2012. And it's supposed to be resurfaced once every 2 to 3 years. So with all of the sports that we have that are on our track, the amount of community walkers that we have, the track has taken quite a beating. And that is one of the things that, you know, if we want to keep having our community members have a area in which they can walk our sports to be able to do that kind of thing for track and field, that is could be potentially a ankle sprainer or something like that, because, you know, when kids are running on there, it's just like running on gravel.
And adults.
So it's a safety issue.
Part of determining the priority levels, and again, this is kind of at that draft level, right? So it's the first pass. We took into account like 3 different buckets. So creating almost like a Venn diagram, right? Where we were looking at the facility condition of the equipment or the space, safety and security, and then educational adequacy. So if, you know, let's say a scope item met all 3 of those different categories, then it definitely was elevated to more of a higher priority. If it only maybe met one of those criteria, but it's been giving an issue, or it's been something that you've had to sink a lot of money into, that also could have raised it to a high priority level. So there was definite thought that went into the categorization. But again, it's kind of that initial draft that we are first putting it before, you know, the board and the district to kind of see what the thoughts and opinions are. And definitely things can change.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is that, like, as I mentioned when we started, this is that first pass, this is to start the conversations. This will be our job to prioritize and figure out exactly, you know, what it is that we feel we absolutely need to do, and then whatever we have the resources to do, or how we determine, you know, what happens next. So, and whether we shift, you know, we'll shift some things around, we'll make some decisions, but that's the conversation that we're having. But we wanted to make sure that you finally saw, because we haven't done this. And one of the things, like the big piece that we're going to walk away from in the next couple of weeks, I hope, is to have that the CIP or the capital improvement plan in place, so that even though we're not deciding absolutely what we're going to do first, it at least gets us that list, because that is a requirement to use funds from Fund 46. So we have $550,000 sitting in that fund, and if we decide to either we talked about repairing the tennis courts, that, you know, we have to make sure the tennis courts are in the plan, or if we do pay for the track this year, that could come out of that fund, but it has to be on that list. And we have not, as a district, the board has not approved a plan since before the referendum. So we want to make sure we do have a plan out there that's approved, that we are able to utilize them, so that if we need to pull something from Fund 46, we can do that.
All right, Ms. Peterson.
Yeah, I think that in the discussions now, my question may have been answered, because as you're looking at all of the high priority and the medium/high priority, is there a way to prioritize those high priority things. What are the most important in that level of high priority and the least important, if you will, in that grouping?
Absolutely.
And then we can work from that point. And that comes from the knowledge of what you know about what's happening in these different areas here.
Correct.
I appreciate being given the answer about the high priority and low priority. My question kind of goes beyond that though. Okay, so one of the things that's listed here is to replace the concrete loading dock. What is that going to be replaced with?
It would be another concrete loading dock.
Okay,
It's
so
crumbling.
okay, so it's
Yeah,
crumbling.
it's
That's what I
crumbling.
wanted to know.
Yeah, it's crumbling, and part of the sidewalk that comes out from that loading dock is actually sinking towards the building. So when we have rain, we have snow, and it melts, it's actually going towards the building and not away from the building. So now we're looking at potential foundation issues. So some of these things is
I
not.
just didn't see it in the
Yeah,
picture.
and,
That's fine.
and some of the things are just, things that we don't think about on a day-to-day basis like this. Like, we have sidewalks that, go towards the building. Well, after a while, that becomes a foundation issue or a building issue. So that's why some of the ones that don't seem like they should be on the high priority
Oh,
list.
no, I just wanted to get an understanding as to what it's gonna be replaced with.
Yep.
The second one, and I have 3 things that I wanted to ask about. The second one is a high priority for replacing the doors. Now, understand that the doors are ugly but they can't be refinished. I mean, aren't those nice heavy doors that are good for fires and, that kind of thing?
Some of them are, but some of them also have the metal venting that are in there. So because of our day and age, it's like having some of the safety issues where, if we were to have a issue, someone could easily kick through that metal grating and enter a classroom like that.
And there's several of them where the veneer has actually kind of come off. So, I mean, when you get to that point, start to trade off labor and material for replacement versus just a brand new door.
So they'll be replaced with what kind of doors?
With solid core. It's very similar to what the is.
Okay, solid wood core doors. Okay, and the third or last thing that I thought would probably be higher priority would be what's going on with the fire alarm. It's listed on low priority. Fire alarm.
For this building. Every other, the school educational buildings themselves are required to have fire alarms. So that's for this one. And it's a recommendation, right? It's something that isn't in here. Your grandfather, then you don't have to do it. But it's ideal.
Okay, so that's why the priority.
That's what the priority is.
Low. And then the right number of exits to get out in case of a fire.
Correct.
Yes. So
And we also have fire extinguishers in the proper amounts, in the proper location.
Okay, and sprinkler system or
We
something?
do not have one here at the district office.
So we're speaking alarm, not a smoke detector, right?
It would be both.
Correct.
So there's no smoke detectors in the building?
Currently, no.
You can get that with a Vivid.
I mean, that's a minority, like I'm just, there are no smoke detectors.
Right, that's not good.
Yeah.
I have a question. It lists a scope item here and it lists all these numbers, but when I try to refer back to the pages, it does not show that same number. Are those numbers referred to anywhere on these pages as like a cross reference as to what it goes to?
They don't.
Okay.
We could make them do that.
Okay, well, I was just wondering because I see that number here, but I don't see it correlating to anything, so thank you.
Ask what our next steps are. Oh, you know what? I want to take that question back because I think Belita had a question.
I was thinking I was going in that direction, because obviously you have done a really, really good job of assigning a priority to the various aspects of the building development. And thank you for attaching a rough estimate to each of those.
is next steps, or would next steps be for us to have a conversation to determine if our high priority aligns with your high priority with the district? Because obviously there are, and I'm not saying that we're gonna do all of this stuff, or maybe we do it in a phased manner. But yeah, I think you and I are thinking alike in that
The
regard.
next steps are.
Well,
In terms of next steps.
Right, from my standpoint, obviously, I think the first thing which we have the basis of is getting that capital improvement plan approved by the board, because then, as I said, if we do have something that happens that we can pull from Fund 46, we have the ability to do that. So I don't want to wait too long into having the plan be exact, because we can, as long as it's on the list, it counts. So we can do that. Then it is, to your point, we do need to have a larger conversation about how those priorities align, and make sure the board is comfortable. Most of this can't be done in a normal operational budget. We only have so much funding. We've been lucky. We've had a few years where we've had money we've been able to put aside in fund balance, so we could pull some money out of fund balance, to pay for some of those things. But the dollar value is such that I think we're going to just have to have a conversation about what does that priority mean, and how fast do we want to be able to do these things, and what does that look like. The other thing which they've touched on, which I think is also really important too, is to have them finish up the programmatic study portion of this, because it gives us an opportunity to really validate the utility of our buildings and whether all of our spaces are being used accordingly. One of the comments that Matt and I have had these conversations since the village announced these new developments is, we really need to figure out, like, where can we put kids in an emergency, an emergency, meaning we have this, this significant bump of kids all of a sudden. Like, what can we turn into classrooms? Where could we put kids at the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school, so that we had some overflow and we were able to absorb kids for a period of time? Now, obviously, if developments continue, and you're talking about 100, 200, 300, 400 kids join the district, well, that's a different conversation. But we need to be prepared for that, just to make sure that, because we do have empty spaces. There are underutilized spaces. There are spaces that are being used in storage. And I think part of this conversation that they'll be able to go through is to see, what does that actually look like for us, so that we can actually feel better about where we are from a capacity standpoint, and when we feel like we need to do something else. So I think we're still in that early stage of trying to figure out exactly what we have. From a condition standpoint, this is a great first step, and I appreciate the thoroughness that they provided, and this other, really, it's also that outside third party. It's the first time that they've seen these buildings. They're here just to assess where we're at. I was on the board, when we did a lot of the last projects. Matt was new to the district. There's a lot of institutional knowledge that has gone. Jim could probably feel actually more in on the condition of the buildings than any of us probably here. But that's what we kind of need to get that all kind of on paper and understand where we are, and so the board understands, and then we can have, like I said, this is the first step of months of conversations as to how we prioritize and where we go.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and address the elephant in the room when we look at this whole thing, because of course we know the longer we wait on certain items or whatever have you, the more the cost is getting ready to go up. We've already talked about next year, we're gonna have some issues in relationship to our budget or whatever. So how do we turn around and pull $2 or $3 million towards some of these high priority items when we are going to be trying to focus on retaining staff and some other different things that have to happen or whatever? So now my piece goes into the elephant in the room is are we starting to get ready to talk about potentially having to do a referendum in order to be able to get some of this stuff done? Because I look at it from this standpoint, and maybe it's wrong to look at it like this, but if we turn around and we take care of these other little areas in the next 3 years, the stuff that's fair right now is going to turn into high priority. Then we're going to turn back around and we'll be back in the same boat. And then the things that are the low priority, then they're going to turn into high priority. And then we're going to turn around and continue this whole thing moving forward. So would it be more advantageous for us to bite the bullet? We are and I think one of the things that we can talk to our community about is the enrollment has continued to trend upward. Number one. Number two, we are talking about now potentially more kids being able to come into the district because you got more families coming into the district and everything. And, along with our new strategic plan, and a lot of this stuff that's in here coincides with the things that we talked about within our new strategic plan and some of our values or whatever and stuff. So I'm just putting it out there to the board. If it would be more advantageous for us to potentially start thinking about, is this something we may want to start talking to the community about and start getting them ready for it and stuff, because this stuff is coming, and in 2 years, the price of this stuff is going to go up. It goes from $6.8 million to $9.4 million. And that's in 3 years. So, well, I mean, of course, it's an estimate, but you know what? I always take estimates as, yeah, it'll be right around in there someplace. Yeah, potentially. Is this something that we get ready to look at? I know, Kev, I think was it 2017 when we started talking about the stuff for 2018. We had to start kind of lining the community up to say, hey, this is the reason why we need to do this, and then here we go. And so I'm just looking at it big picture standpoint. Is this something that we do? Do we turn around and try to look at this as potential referendum item to start going out to the community and stuff, because we are where we are?
I'll just say a couple things. One, I think in being in your seat for many years, I think one of the things that always seems to happen is that there's an assumption that you go to do something, you go to a referendum and you get all this money and it solves all of your problems. But invariably you're picking an amount of money and you do what you can within the parameters of that money. So you don't solve everything, you solve chunks of it. And so we've done a lot of great things over the last, 13 years, okay, 2009 or 14 years now. And so this may have to be the next phase of that. I don't know. At some point, again, you do get to a point where you have to address things. I mean, we built the field house. Now the field house is 12 years old or 11 years old now. And at some point, there's going to be things that are tied to that space, which we didn't have, 30 years ago, that we're going to have to address. And so where does that money come from? I will say one thing, right now we are, and we don't know you'll have to stay tuned for our annual meeting report on Thursday, but, and when we finalize the budget, but right now we are in this unique situation where we continue to see a large increase in state aid, which generally causes our operational tax levy to go down. So as you know, you've been over levying for a couple of years. We did an extra $1 million for debt service for the last 2 years. I'm going to encourage you to, whenever we get the final number for equalization, I won't have it on Thursday, but because the state put so much money into the formula after the estimates were released in July when they finally approved the budget, once we see what that looks like, I might encourage you to do, again, levy Fund 39 to, have a relatively small tax cut, not to go over, but to absorb as much of that as you can. Because again, if we're not ready to make that decision for, say this April or something like that, then at least we are kind of holding on to that money. We can begin to defease it next year. Then you could take that money and turn it into a payment for a long-term debt obligation without any impact on the tax payment. So that's the conversation that we have. We're not in a situation where, because in fact, our tax levy is lower than it was in 2018 before we passed the $26 million run. So you may see a similar type of opportunity for us that, our state aid is such that we could absorb a lot of this without having to ask the taxpayers to contribute more. So again, this is just part one of many
things. And then you think about it, for the last, 4 years, what we've asked from the community in relationship to our portion of the tax levy has gone down every year or whatever and stuff. Hence the reason why we have been able to provide ourselves with a little bit of relief. And which fund is that, where the $1 million was at? Fund 39 or whatever stuff. So again, just things to board members. Yeah. These are just things for us to contemplate and think about. I don't know if anybody else had any other questions. I just think that, I think we probably all appreciate this feasibility study in relationship to kind of where we're at and potentially where we're going to have to go, and things that we need to make high priority and get some of these other things taken care of. So
of course I ask the question every year, do we have to lower the tax? Or could we utilize that money? Does this now qualify us to be able to?
Well, you can't, the revenue limit is still the revenue limit. Yeah. So you can't, and that is for operations. Yeah. So you can't go any higher than that. But again, by over levying for debt service, again, if it took a year to have this conversation and figure out what we were going to do, you hold on to that money for debt service this year, again, prepay, that's gonna save us money long term, but then whatever that over levy is, could be then incorporated into the payment of a following year or whatever. It just depends how fast the district, feels like they can move. Because obviously, I live in the community, you all do. I know that when you bring up that word, it has a lot of different connotations to people. And obviously we have done a number of things over the last 12 years. So again, I think it's reminding people of how far we've come and that there are still some things that we need to do, and that's hard to do on an annual basis, the way that school funding works through just operational funds. So, but again, this is part of the conversation.
One quick comment on soccer field recommendations. I noticed that, and I'm only saying this because I'm reading a lot of parent comments about the soccer fields not having lighting and a scoreboard, and I don't see a scoreboard listed for the soccer field.
Yeah,
So
we
it's a
can add that. I
parent-
know that came up in social media.
Yeah, it has a lot.
That has come up.
I just thought I'd mention it because I see it for the softball field.
The lighting aspect has come up, with me and, Mr. McGarry. And we've talked about it, and it's something that we really would like to consider. Of course, this list isn't
Oh, no, I know.
finalized,
But I just wanted to
but,
mention it because I noticed that it wasn't, it would have to
yeah.
not be listed.
And there are some things that we could probably change on there, and we will. But like we've said, this is a great beginning.
Oh, for sure. Very
This
good one.
is something that is living, so it's going to change every day, and we can. And that's the great part about all this is that as a board, you guys can discuss and help manage the way that we do things. And with this team that's in front of you guys, they're going to help with suggestions, and I think it's going to be a great relationship.
Kevin, you mentioned one of the first next steps would be the capital improvement plan. When does that need to be approved by?
Well, it 4 years ago, technically. I mean,
Okay.
you need to have one active in order to utilize Fund. I mean, until 3 years ago, we didn't have any money in Fund 46, so it didn't really matter. But I'd like to take the results of what they found and at least put it all out there, have you approve that. There's our 10-year capital plan. So that again, if we do, something happens, if the boiler breaks down tomorrow, I could pull $80,000 out of Fund 46 instead of having to worry about pulling it out of our
And
budget
that's
this year.
if we have the plan approved.
Right, but it's like, you don't have to do anything on the plan, it just has to be on the list in order for us to utilize Fund 46.
Got it. Okay.
So that'll be our very first step, and again, a living, breathing document, you can always add other things to it, but at least get something out there that the board's approved.
So we don't put smoke detectors on Menards.
No, we're just using petty cash for that. That's the next step. Get some smoke detectors in this facility here. Our staff and our team and our administration should not be working unprotected from that respect.
That begs the question about the carbon monoxide detectors.
Got smoke detectors. No, we don't have those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, all right, anybody else actually have any questions in relationship about this performance service and our facility study? Any other questions, board members?
No.
All right. Okay, I think that was a discussion item.
It was.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys coming in and putting this together for us. You've
Open up.
So Matt, you did tell me I was gonna love it and I was gonna hate you at the same time. I think that you have struck that line. But again, thank you guys. Yeah.
I do feel bad. I hear that's the reaction they get a lot of times when they first.
Usually, I know.
Right. So, but thank you very much for letting us know exactly where we are. And as a board, I know we'll be having more discussions in relationship to this with our administrative team and being able to move forward and stuff. So again, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. We look forward to coming back and giving you as many updates as we can. So thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Nice to see you guys, to the kids for you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm okay with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll bake some brownies and things like that.
That's what I wanted to be. I missed it.
All right. So let's go on now to our item number D, which is our organizational assessment proposal from CISA.
Yeah, now.
Did anybody?
Oh, priority after this.
Right.
So did that one first.
That's all? No. So essentially what you see here in the executive summary is Mr. Bill's response to the questions that were posed last time. And so this is a follow-up to that. We didn't put this as discussion and approval tonight, but if you have any additional questions beyond what he's already answered, we can take those questions back, but although it's not itemized on the agenda as such, we would love to be able to approve this or have the board approve this if this is the route you want to go with utilizing CISA for the organizational assessment.
It's on the motion.
Originally, no, I see it on the motion, but not on the agenda as such.
Yeah, so we can't do it anyway. Yeah.
Originally itemized as an organizational audit. I think that's what the official conversation was, and then Mr. Bill entitled it as a organizational assessment. So
it's got to come back to our next one just because of the burden piece. But I guess my thing when I looked at can we get the whole proposal back with the additions that he's put in here? Like it says, CISA 5 number will detail the final report, example of a final report.
right, these are in response to the questions that were posed. You want the entire proposal again?
Yeah.
Okay.
With the proposal,
essentially this one pager.
right? But then with the other things that we asked for him to be able to address those items in the proposal itself.
So you want this information documented in here to be able to approve that?
Yeah, and approve it. Yes, most definitely.
Are there any additional questions beyond what was asked last time? Okay. Okay.
All right. All right, let's go on to our next item, approval of our mission, vision, and value statements. So with that being said, I guess this would be more me, okay, or us. So we're going to read over this vision statement, our mission statement, and our core value statement. And then from there, board, we will look to approve or make a motion to approve and or continue to discuss. So School District of Brown Deer, excellence, equity, and engagement. Our vision, provide a rigorous education that empowers our students to confidently navigate in our ever-changing world.
What would happen if we took out N? I-N.
Took out in, so confidently navigate in.
Take it out.
I was saying that's where the N is at. So
We navigate our ever-changing world.
get rid of the N.
I think it's,
All right, so let's go. I'm gonna read it without the N in it. Provide a rigorous education that empowers our students to confidently navigate our ever-changing world. Works? Yes.
can't navigate a world. You can navigate in and through by teaching analysis and critical skills, but you can't navigate a world.
I would agree with that.
All right, Doc. Okay, all right. So I guess that was the reason why it was in anyway. As a matter of fact, actually, you know what? I think you almost said the same thing, but a little bit differently when we first did it over there. Okay.
And if the goal is to try to truncate it and make it small, because usually visions are shorter blurbs.
So then when I initially read it, to me, the vision, I had two things. I was going to say something to the effect to provide a rigorous education that empowers our students to confidently navigate our ever-changing world. But I can live it either or, and this is me just kind of.
So that's what we said last time.
Right, and I think we took 2 out for a reason.
We didn't take it out.
I thought
It was in the notes from last time.
You have the notes right there?
it should be sitting up there. It should be written up there. Lisa, do you see 2 in there?
It has an X through the 2.
Right, and there was a reason why we X'd it out.
Oh, I can't see the X.
It is X'd out.
Right, and there was a reason why we X'd it out because
What was the reason?
I don't remember.
from the digital notes from last meeting, it wasn't next out, so I don't.
Well, I mean, everything that's up there is what, because I was sitting up there. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say leave it out. There hasn't been a reason why we took 2 out of there, because if you remember, we had robust discussion in relationship to this, so it had to been a reason why we didn't have 2 in there.
If I was a little tired, I would push back really hard, but I can live with that just for the.
All right, so let's go to tiredness. All right, so again, provide. So do you want to say to provide?
That's what, right.
It doesn't.
Our vision is to provide, I mean, it just reads that way. Our vision is to provide a blah, 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 blah. Our vision is to provide a rigorous education that empowers our students to confidently navigate in our ever-changing world. Our vision is to provide. Our vision is provide.
I really do not care at this point in time about the word to or the word in.
Dr. Glass, can you give us a literary?
I just think
stronger.
All
right.
Vision says what we're gonna do. We are going to.
Okay, so here's the vision in this, so we're done with this, right?
Yes.
To provide a rigorous education that empowers our students to confidently navigate in our ever-changing world. Okay, so 2 is in there.
Right.
Right? Okay, we're done with that, right? We're finished, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We're done.
Mission, all right? Through the lens of excellence, equity, and engagement, we are dedicated to empowering every student with the essential skills to build a foundation for lifelong learning.
Yes.
Yes.
We're good.
We're good.
No wordsmithing.
No.
Okay. All right. Our core values, safety and nurturing. We are dedicated to creating a safe and a nurturing environment where every student can actively engage, learn, flourish, and thrive. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Success, to give students the confidence, courage, and competence to achieve their dreams and contribute to community.
To achieve their dreams and contribute to their community?
Or to the.
To the community?
The community.
Yes. Love. All right, we'll add that in, the, with success. And everybody agree, or do we want to look at a different word? I'm just, hey, I'm just putting it out there, you know, hey, in and to. So yeah, you know, those transitional words or whatever. I'm like, hey, let's do it. All right, so the. Okay.
Yes. So our, excuse me.
To our community?
To give students the confidence, courage, and competence to achieve their dreams and contribute to our community.
All right. So now we looking at where are we looking at?
It's beyond us.
Beyond us, just not just us, but everywhere.
Global.
Yep, because that goes back to our vision. So yeah, so all right, to contribute to the community.
Yes.
All right. So no more discussion, right? We're good.
We're done.
You on core values?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now let's go to engagement. So remember now, so Ms. Ross, we're adding the after and contribute to the community. All right. Engagement. Through genuine engagement and partnership with parents and families, students will develop the skills, knowledge, and confidence needed to excel academically.
Perfect.
Genuine engagement and partnerships or partnership? Partnership with
It
parents.
would just be ship. I don't think it would be plural.
Oh, you're right.
So partnership with parents and families. Those are plural. All right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the parents and the families are making the thing plural, but we don't need to say partnerships. It's just partnership.
From my vantage point, I think you keep it as it is.
Yep.
Yes. Mhm.
Yep.
So there was one other piece that was on there that we said last time at the end, and I just want to know if we're gonna take it off.
We said and contribute to community as well.
And contribute positively to society.
Where's that at?
And I actually made a kind of an executive. I took it out because it was just long. Okay.
And it was in the one before. Yeah, and it was in the before.
But yeah, because it says it as long, and I'm like,
Really long.
okay.
Yes, Ms. Megan.
Okay, I love the, I love that we explain everything. But I would like, like if you normally read the core values, it would say safe and nurturing, success-driven, engaging, innovative, and celebratory. And then if you wanted to, but normally they don't have all of that writing, so I don't mind. I don't think it's a problem with us explaining what we mean by that. But I think that if you're doing, you say, well, what are the core values that connect to the mission? We're safe and nurturing, we're success-driven, we're engaging, innovative, and celebratory. But to say safety and nurturing, it's just, it doesn't flow as core values, in my opinion.
So you're saying make safety safe?
Yeah, just safe and nurturing. So if you have core values where you're looking at the lens of equity and engagement and excellence, we're providing a safe and nurturing environment, a success-driven, engaging, innovative, and celebratory. That's even if you don't add all of the other writing in there. And people can remember those 5 things: safe and nurturing, successful, engaging, innovative, and celebratory.
But if you do it that way, then
they don't need the other stuff.
Well, what I'm going to say is the structure isn't a list, but if you list them, then it should be like all nouns or all verbs, not a combination of both. So,
right. I like celebration. I've not seen celebratory in a value statement. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But I think you can support the first piece, just being a safe and a nurturing environment.
All right, so the safety, just make it safe and nurturing instead of safety.
Okay.
Like after she started talking, I was like, I'm gonna go back and ask them to change that to safe, but you did, sir.
All right, good job. All right, so now let's go through blah, 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 blah. We're at innovation. Innovation committed to continuously seeking creative and innovative approaches to education. And then our last one is celebration. We inspire a culture of appreciation, motivation, and joy for learning, encouraging everyone to reach their full potential.
Outstanding.
All right, so with that being said, we have 1, 2, 3 changes. The word to in our vision statement, so it's to provide. In our core values, it's safe and nurturing. And under success, it's to achieve their dreams and contribute to the community. All right. Anything else?
I still, celebration, is that a core value? I mean, I understand, I like all of the definitions there. Safe and nurturing is a core value. Is success,
I would say success, yes, definitely.
Success driven or just a core value?
It's success.
Okay.
Success, it's just success.
You want your students to experience success.
Right, but you don't have.
So the definition of a core value. What are core values? A definition. A core value can be defined as enduring belief upon which a person acts. And I would suggest that the work that we are doing daily, we want our students to experience success. So it is definitely something that we would act upon in regards to student achievement.
I don't know what's driven. So I get it for success based on that definition you just gave, but then the other 3 is.
Yeah, read the definition again.
Core value can be defined as an enduring belief upon which a person acts. And all of these, in my mind, all of what we see here are action items. These are things that we actually would do to create this high quality teaching learning experience. We're going to engage our students. We are going to implement innovative practices. We're going to celebrate our children and certainly employ a safe and nurturing environment. So I think I'm saying that to say these are all things we can do, and that we can can see and can identify.
And who doesn't want to celebrate all of our
Right,
successes?
who doesn't want to share appreciation?
So great.
So let's go back then. You said, because you said innovative, but this is innovative.
I caught that too.
Yeah.
Celebrating, it didn't have to be celebratory, but celebrating, innovating, engaging,
I don't like that.
safe and nurturing. I can live with whatever. I just,
If you speak in English once in your life.
in communication, but I just.
Okay, so, all right, so are we done? Are we good?
I like it.
Are we ready to go to vote for it? Because if we're not ready to go to vote for it, let's go on and finish this discussion and get this done.
I can go to a vote right now.
With the recommended changes.
With the three changes. All right, so with that being said, would someone like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve the mission, vision, value statement as presented. Or with the recommended changes.
All right, so we have a motion with the recommended changes, additions. All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Walker. Motion has been made, Ms. Robinson, seconded by Ms. Walker. Any other further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, raise hand and/or aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries 6-0. All right, so yep, finally got that done. So most of our mission, our vision, our mission, and our core values, all those are them changes. So Dr. Kelsey Brown, we're going to make sure that those things go in the hallways, go on letterhead, wherever we need to have them in those places. All right. Okay. Now our next item is the motion to approve the appointment of Nicole. But we've got to wait a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. G, the 2023-2024 School District of Brown Deer celebrations.
Right, and that was if you recall, there was a request from the board during the board retreat to create a one-pager regarding district celebrations. So that is what has been uploaded. If you have any suggestions or additional recommendations regarding what has been uploaded, we're open to the feedback.
Should that be the 22-23 celebration?
Correct. It was done last year.
Now, question, Dr. Kelsey Brown. Are we going to use some of this information to do for the next week Thursday's meeting for the annual meeting?
Thursday.
This Thursday. I'm sorry.
Some of this is in there.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Yes.
It's Thursday.
Oh, geez.
Oh, I know why you're saying that. Are you going?
September don't have that many weeks in it.
Thursday night.
Oh, yeah. I'll be here. I'll be. I changed my Toronto ticket. I'll be here. All right. So, we're going to be able to utilize that info from the 22-23, and we'll use that as part of the.
Yes, the Cliff Notes version is in the annual report.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll thank you for the making it 22-23. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I just really appreciate seeing this. I think when we had this discussion, while we talk a whole lot about our challenges, I don't think that we talk enough about our wins, but we're doing well. And certainly I think that the entire world needs to know,
That's part of our whole thing with that new mission and our vision statement and everything else like that. We got to, part of the other thing too, when we start talking about communication, we got to start getting out there and letting people know all the great things we're doing, because I get so tired. I don't even do the social media thing anymore because I get tired of seeing every time you turn around, everybody's complaining about this, that, and the other thing or whatever, but nobody is sitting up there saying like, wonderful job about this, wonderful job about this, wonderful job about this. We're moving in the right direction. And I think part of that is on the board. We need to continue to toot the horns of the district out to the public, and being able to do that. The whole thing that we had like with Courtney and being able to make sure that we send out all these different positives and everything else out like that to the public and being able to publicize all of that different stuff or whatever have you. I just think that those are the things that we need to do to let everybody know and stuff, because you know what, there's so much misinformation that's out there, especially on those blogs and all the rest of that different stuff. There's so much misinformation that's going out there. Like I get telephone calls and I tell people quick, I was like, no, that's not true whatsoever. I mean, it's not even remotely true. And I think that we've gone from a couple of years ago where it took us a minute to communicate out so people didn't come up with their own narrative to it, to us getting out in front of it. And so now we're out in front of it. So now it's time for us to lead the narrative, being able to do that part. So yes, I'm definitely on top of that one right there and making sure that needs to happen. So I'm sorry, let me get off my soapbox.
Love it. Change the narrative.
Right.
That was the request back in August.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so now let's go to item number H. Discussion of key performance indicators, our KPI.
Right, and it is really not a discussion tonight. I just wanted to inform the board, first say thank you for everyone who sent questions our way regarding the KPIs, and the team will be meeting tomorrow to be responsive to your questions. We put that together in a Google Doc. We'll share that information with everyone. So everyone, 3 of the 6 of you sent questions, and so that Google Doc will share all of the information with all of the board members, and then we will move forward with that conversation. I think one of the pieces to understand in the strategic planning process, as far as the input that we need for the board to focus on, are those overall 4 pillars that we are focusing on with the strategic plan. Everything else underneath that, as far as strategies we're going to employ using our plan on a page, and the continued work that we will do with our last session with Jeannie Marie from 6 to 6 will be on Friday. That's all of the strategies we will employ on a day-to-day basis. And we know and understand that because the difference between what we know and understand in our previous strategic plans is, what's the best way for me to say, is that many of the items in the strategic plan were not laid out in a way where they were measurable so that we can determine impact. This strategic plan, given the fact that it's based on a cycle of continuous improvement, allows everyone to know the direction that the district is moving. What do we consider as, to use the same words as the company that just came, our high priority areas where we want to focus our energies. Those strategies that we will employ, given that we're working on the cycle of continuous improvement, could change at any given point in time, because when we look at our data, when we understand what's happening day to day in the district, there could be a need to pivot or change part of the plan in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a day, just given what we know we're experiencing as we employ this work moving forward. So what I would like to happen is for the board to focus on the overarching goals, the big 4 pillars that are going to drive the work with the strategic plan. And that's the part that we would love for you to put your arms around and grant us permission to move forward in those areas, because the planning under the strategy planning, which exists, is going to change at some point. But what we need from you is the approval so that we can go forth and know that you support what we're trying to do to move the work forward. This is, we all know, is our roadmap for the work. And right now, we're working and we're doing wonderful work, but we need something solidified that you agree with those 4 overarching pieces to continue to move the work forward. The strategies will always be part of our process. The strategies will, if it's working and it's effective, then we continue to employ those strategies. However, if they prove to be ineffective because we have data that doesn't support that it's effective, then that will be a need for us to pivot and change the strategies we're employing. And I don't believe the board would want, I don't know that you would want us to keep you apprised of every time we make a change with the strategies. What you would want to know is the overarching impact that we're having on those KPIs. So I ask you to think about the work in that regard, so that we can, grant us your blessing, so that we can move forward. So again, we will answer those questions as a team starting tomorrow. But the big piece, the overarching 10,000-foot view of the work is where we need your support in knowing and understanding that these are the KPIs we want to hang our hats on to move the work forward.
So I have a question. When you refer to strategies and the roadmap, you're referring to the opportunities for improvement? Is that what?
No, so in our work with CESA 6, each one of us as leaders, so Dr. Glass, Mr. Clement, Ms. Director Ramos, and myself, we all have plans on a page. And underneath, in the plan on the page, we all have the strategies we're going to employ to impact those KPIs. What we're doing with Jeannie Marie on Friday, our last session with her, is she's going to take us through an exercise where strategies, that is, where as a team we're going to collectively agree that these are the strategies we know, we believe in, and we're confident in those strategies that they will impact the KPIs.
So I can say from some of my feedback, with not realizing that there is a separate plan on the page, that may help to answer some of the questions that I have. I thought that's what we were looking at.
No, that's all of the day-to-day timeline. For example, you don't have that, Dr. Vito, on book. You did not.
Because I'm like, wait a minute, I just got confused now. I'm like, wait a minute.
That's about 30-some pages because she has a plan based on her KPIs. Kevin has a plan based on his KPI, plan on the page where the strategies are. I have one for my engagement piece, and Director Ramos has one for her piece. That's almost probably 35, 40 pages. We did not provide that to you. If you want to see it, you can, but I don't know that those are the pieces that you want to get into because they're going to change.
So I'll tell you, my confusion came in for this to be key performance indicators. There's no way for me to know how you're going to get those indications based on what's here.
You want the plan on the page? I mean, we're more than happy to share it. About 35, 40 pages.
I think, Dr. Kelsey Brown, I think from the board standpoint, and maybe I'm talking more towards myself, is that, when we come together with the pillars and stuff, when we talk about a strategic plan or whatever have you, the board also wants to be able to champion this and be able to say, hey, these are the things that we're doing or whatever have you. So when it was brought to us in this form right here, you asked us, were there questions that we had? So what we did was, I think each one for the 3 out of 6 people that went through had specific questions because that's exactly what you asked us to do.
Right,
what were the questions that we had and how were we going to get there? And I think, and I can't remember word for word kind of what the overarching thing was, but the majority of it was, how are we going to know this is successful? How do we know this is impacting student success and student learning? If I'm remembering everybody's pieces back when you did when everybody kind of answered, say, these are my questions when looking at this or whatever and stuff. So that I think that we're still at that same part, like, how is this being measured? How do we know it's going to be successful in, as far as the impact piece?
So on the document where you see the ratings, when those ratings move, that's how you will know we are impacting the work. And that's based on the data. For example, I'll just use FastBridge as one of our metrics in the area of ELA and math. You're not going to see that in what you have, but we have it in our plan on a page to outline how strategies will employ to impact literacy and math. Dr. Glass is working on that with some high leverage strategies around close reading, questioning and reasoning. That's all in her plan. If you want that, you're welcome to have access to that. It's going to change over time. I'll give you another example. around culture and engagement, my piece, we know that we're employing a survey, a parent engagement survey this year, and we're also employing a staff engagement survey. All of that information is listed in my plan page with a line. So if you want all that, we've been working, happy to give it to you.
Yes.
Dr.
Sorry. I wish I was a doctor, but I'm not. But with that said, while we don't want to be buried in all of the, I guess, the minutia of what you're referring to, I would like to know where we are in each of those areas, right? Like, so you made reference to your culture of engagement piece, and you have identified percentages where you're placing priority on maybe quarterly or, with some cadence that we can hear how we're doing in these respective areas. Because I just feel like there's a degree of accountability that's missing in all of this. And to me, if we make it a point to revisit, we don't have to do all of the pillars in one seating, but let's say we do culture and engagement and give us a high level of, well, folks, about, a year ago, we were kind of struggling and we were concerned about student involvement. I'm proud to say that we have moved the notch, we have reconfigured the percentages, and this is how we did it. You know what I'm saying? Rather than, I trust that you're doing the work. I really, really do. But in terms of, just the accountability piece of it.
Right. So we've laid out, if you remember the conversations we had, there was a data sheet where we outlined all of our data sources, remember? We outlined that we would use those data sources as tool or metrics by which we would report out. Well, we know with Constant Forward data, we don't get until whenever. Right. So they're going to be.
So that wouldn't we wouldn't get that until maybe.
Right, but I'm just using that as an example. With FastBridge, we take FastBridge 3 times a year. So after our first window closes, we can share with you where we are with FastBridge around ELA and math. Second window closes, then we can compare that data, the first window data, to the second window data. So it's going to vary over time. And those are the pieces that, again, are laid out in the plan on the page.
So I guess from my perspective, I don't need to see every time something happens, but if like quarterly we get an update, that would be great. But so it sounds like we have this continuous improvement plan. We have plan on the page.
The strategies.
What else do we have that's a part of this whole process? Okay, so
in plan.
That's infused. It's right. Infused in there, but they're aligned.
So whatever all the pieces are, I would need to see all of the pieces before I'm comfortable in giving the go ahead on any of it.
Like, can I ask a question? I mean, I don't know that I've heard the board say, again, there's the theory behind the 4 pillars and then all of the sub, KPIs that we're actually looking at. Is there agreement that we are looking at the right things? I mean, that's something you can do without necessarily immediately defining how you're going to get there. I mean, the question is, are these the things that the board wants to see the district focus on over the next 5 years? Because that's kind of what's going to drive all the conversations we have. Are these the things that are how important they are, and then the weights of how we've estimated them to be? I mean, that's an independent conversation where you can decide that. And then the nuance of how we get it from, the current state to the desired state, as Ted would teach us, that's the path that we're going to go on. But I don't know that so far I've heard any kind of consensus on the board saying yes, we agree that, we see where these 4 pillars are. We agree with those. We agree with the KPIs that we're looking at and how we're going to move the needle in these areas. And then I think even just giving the blessing on that part of the strategic plan, the framework of it, then allows everybody to start getting to work and finalizing some of the other pieces. Because if we start working on, if there are KPIs that you guys don't agree with, I think we have to talk about that, because why are we doing work on something that you're not going to hold us accountable for? So I don't know that we've, we're talking about like step 12, step 13 of the process, when we haven't even really officially decided, step 1, which is this the framework of the strategic plan? Are these the things you want the district to focus on going forward?
Okay. All right, Kevin, I understand exactly what you're saying, but I think, when these 4 pillars came, this stuff came directly to us. We weren't involved in the creation of the 4 pillars. So what we were doing was going off of what you brought to us. So, excuse me, if we pumping brakes a little bit or whatever have you, to understand exactly what it is that we're doing, how we're getting to get there, and how does this stuff align with everything else that we've got going on. Okay. So I just want you to understand that part of it first. All right. And so with us being able to get ready to move forward with this or whatever, board members, I know one of the things that was said was they wanted us to ask questions or whatever have you. Do you think, and kind of piggybacking on what Felita said, and also what Ms. Robinson said, is have we put it together to where for us to be able to understand that this is this roadmap that we're on? All right. And I think that's the major question for the board. Do we think that is this the direction we want to go? Are these the things that we really want? All right. And do we think that do we understand that we know that how we're going to, once this is done, we approve this, that there is going to be that accountability piece to it. We are going to understand exactly kind of what this does, this roadmap does, and how it's going to affect teaching, learning, student engagement, the whole 9. Right?
To answer Kevin's question, I am okay with these pillars. Yeah. What I need though, is some degree of communication in terms of where we are, in terms of just hitting some of the, you put priorities, you put it by percentages and that kind of thing. I think it's very important for us to have this information as you go along. You don't have to bury us with the minutia. We just want an update, a high-level overview and update of how we're doing in those 4 pillars. And if we can get that by maybe doing one, every quarter, which takes us to the end of the year, then fine. The other piece to this was the impact. Because at the end of the day, it's one
that's all we care for.
And to us as board members, hey, we're just, what are we doing in moving the needle on our reading scores or in our math scores? Those kinds of things is what I think I want to be prepared to address, because I know that the district is working on it, because I'm familiar with
what's going on and how we're getting ready to do it.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
that's why I'm coming.
No, I absolutely agree. I think that has been, and I've said this before, that's been the drawback of previous plans, where we did the plan, it was wonderful, it looked pretty, and that was it. And we stopped talking about it. And I think your team that you have here, and I think the board, we're all dedicated to focusing on that work and then reporting to you and making sure you understand, here's where we are, here's what we learned, here's where success we had, and here's where we had to pivot and do something else. And again, all I was asking for, and I'm not trying to step on toes as to what the process is, but I think I just wanted to hear like exactly that you do feel like this is a framework. Again, some of the details we still continue to work out, but unless somebody was saying, hey, I don't really believe that this particular KPI is relevant, and if everybody agrees that, well, then let's have the conversation about what replaces that, or do we just reprioritize what's left, or that's what it is. And I guess just making sure that what we presented thus far, if you had other information, if you had other suggestions, or you wanted to tweak the wording of what we're talking about, I think we just wanted to make sure that we were heading in the right direction, or a direction that the board was comfortable with. Again, this being a living document, a year from now we might say this KPI, maybe it's either impossible to measure, or it just doesn't have the impact that we thought it was. Pull out, we either come up with another one, or we changed, where we're at. That's the whole point of the continuous improvement process, that we can shift as we go. Again, just thinking from our standpoint is, are we headed in the right direction?
I mean, for me, it's not that, report backs are good, and yes, so we can measure something, but in business, like, to me, a sign of a good manager, a sign of a very good manager is you hire the right people and you get out of their way and you let them do their job. And not micromanage them. Micromanage maybe the process, but not the person. And I feel like that's a lot of what this board does. time wasted doing that. One, it's not necessary. I mean, I trust that we have the right people in place. They're doing what they say, they're doing their job. And sure, I want reports back, but I don't need micromanaging reports back. And to me, that's a big difference.
And I don't think what I'm asking is considered micromanaging. It's just a level of accountability. Right?
I agree with that.
So
we do have, so one of the discussions we're having with YSH Local is we're trying to create potentially like a document based on those KPIs. Like, so what district data can we pull in that we can report out so that you would have it at like potentially at the end of the board meeting, like the last board meeting of the month. So you would just see it. It would just be a report that you would see. So you would see, yeah, good, bad, and ugly, right? So this is where we're at in terms of these KPIs. These are what we're measuring. This is what our data is. And I think that you would be consistent information that you'd see every month. You'd see how it was comparison. Not you have, Dana, who's our data and assessment coordinator, could speak to that. We've got progress. We're doing some pretty amazing things that are going on in the classroom to try and just instantly kind of pivot, and they're seeing what kids are doing and with what Dr. Glass is doing with her instructional coaches. So you're going to be able to see, hopefully, like some of those moves, and good, bad, or ugly. Attendance is a huge part of our student, performance. But for you to be able to see, like, how did attendance track this month? Again, not to get into the weeds of the details, but to understand, well, we had a rash flu outbreak, that happened this food season. So there explains that, but again, so that you're going to be able to see those pieces. And then as we start to see it again, the goal, and I believe, and I could be wrong with the team that was there with Ted, was that eventually these things fall off the plate because we don't necessarily need to monitor them so much anymore because we've met them. Yes.
So Dr. Glass, you've had your hand up a couple of times.
No, I just wanted to submit that the final part of this process with Jenny Marie includes the action plan. Within the action plan, it lists all of the strategies under each one of the leaders. It lists who's responsible. It lists the beginning, the start dates, the end date. It has the place for the metrics, how we will measure it. Under what I'm doing, that includes your fast bridge. It includes your forward, but then for our work, we will have one monthly assessment to measure the impact of what you're doing, right? It's broken down into 3 cycles. So starting with September through mid-November, we're doing the impact study of all of the different strategies that we're doing. And then they're guiding impact and implementation questions. In other words, how well did the students improve? Comparison. The next month, we'll give another one just to track the impact. So that work is coming. I know exactly what you're asking for, and it's not a big ask. It's just a way of measuring what it is that we're doing. Absolutely. And monitoring, are we doing what we're actually saying, and how is it impacting student learning? So that work is coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where I was going with this, because at the end of the day, we all want our students to progress, to become proficient. And what I guess was missing for me was how are we measuring this? And my 2 points were outlined in what I said. So if you're going to take in consideration all the stuff for those of us who weighed in, I'm happy.
And so the report out, the information, however, whatever frequency we use, whatever method we use, that's all well and good. I want to be sure that I am clear that at this point, up until now, I have yet to see a strategic plan.
So you're looking to see the full report, that the 30 to 40 page report.
If that's what's considered the strategic plan, then yes. Because that's what we have to be accountable for.
Yeah, that's our job.
This is the strategic plan, though. All of the other stuff.
Continuous improvement?
Yes, that is.
So then if this is the plan, then I do want to see how are we going to, are we doing this year? Are we doing this next year? Are we doing this in 3 years? If this is the strategic plan, then I need to see strategy.
I'm just going to be more transparent. That is not the board's work. the board, I mean, you can choose to do what you want, and I get it, and we will get that information to you. The high level overview of the work in terms of what has been laid out is what Mr. Knightsby shared with us in terms of the strategic plan, looking at it in a different way around a cycle of continuous improvement. All those other pieces around how we get there, yes, we have laid them out, and we'd be more than happy to share them with you. But they will change over time. Polita, I think that's one of the things that I love about being on this cycle of continuous improvement, because it serves as an impetus for what has not historically happened in Brown Deer to put us on a progress monitoring plan and provide those opportunities to bring those updates to you or to the board when we have the data to support the work that we're doing.
So just to take a page out of your book that you used earlier this evening, just a simple definition by Google search. A strategic plan is a document or presentation that outlines your business directions, goals, and how you will achieve them. It outlines your vision, your mission, your long-term, your short-term objectives, and your action plan of the steps that you will take to reach your desired future. We don't have that at this point. And if we're supposed to approve a strategic plan and be accountable as a board for a strategic plan, then we have to see strategies.
I just think that, you know what, with this being said right now, and then the questions, so potentially, Dr. Kelsey Brown, you said that you and your team are going to meet tomorrow, right? Based upon
to respond to your question.
Do the questions or whatever have you. But you guys have that meeting or whatever, just get back to us at our next meeting or whatever have you. And that just may be able to solve everybody's questions that they have or whatever have you, because I think ultimately what the board is within the individuals that asked or whatever have you was, how are we holding it accountable, and how are we going to know that it's being successful? And I think those were just the same pieces or whatever have you. And I think that's the same thing. I think everybody's saying the same thing, but just saying it in different ways or whatever. So if we can just go ahead and move forward, you meet with your team, get those questions answered or whatever have you. Our next board meeting, I'm quite sure you'll let us know. And I think the board will be happy. I'll be ready to be able to move forward.
Well, I also would like to encourage the board to begin to think about the resources that are necessary for us to, as we talk about what this looks like, right, which is another piece of the puzzle, but we will need to have that discussion around what additional resources may be needed in order for us to be able to move some of this work forward as well.
Is that something that's included in there? I keep referencing it as such because that's what you had said, the 30 to 40 page report. Are those type of resources, the necessary resources outlined in that part of the report?
Like need new additional staff members, if there's a change to the schedule, if there's, all of those different things right there, whatever, if it's going to cost us money, because I think one of the other things too is that, and not to be difficult or whatever, but I think in the past we've had strategic plans or whatever, and it was just a plan and nobody followed up. There was no, you know what, and I'm part of the problem on that, Kev, me and you both. That last strategic plan, we didn't hold anybody accountable for anything with that strategic plan, and you know it. And so now, and I think that's part of the reason why we're in the shape that we're in right now. So because we didn't do our due diligence on what we were supposed to do, we saw this nice, pretty little thing, and we went with it. And that's not what our role is. That is not what we should have done. We should have been more responsive. We should have, and not necessarily say enforced, but we should have really monitored that plan and made sure that it happened and we were meeting targets and we were doing some of these other things. And I think that's what's going on with this board right now. That's all it is to it. We just want to make sure we're going in the right direction. We don't want this little pretty puff thing or whatever. We want to make sure that we're seeing the results. Like I said before, we got a new strategic plan, we got a new mission, vision, all of this stuff comes together. And I think part of the other thing that we had talked about before is like, and Lisa, I know that you hear things in the community as well too. If you're well informed and knowing of exactly kind of what we're doing and what needs to happen, you can squash some of those different things in the community and stuff, because I'm quite sure that some of the questions that are being asked to you are going to be some of the same questions that are going to end up in this, or what are we doing about academic rigor? What are we doing about this? What are we doing about that? So I just think that so that everybody's on the same page and we understand, the board doesn't want to get into the finite pieces of the, I could care less. I want the big picture pieces. I want to understand, and I would like to understand, and I'd like to know, because part of our role as board members is we report out to the people. And if anybody turns around and asks me a question, I better be able to answer them and not give them some fluff. All right. So
We don't want to be we don't want to micromanage, but we want
Got
to
a
be
job.
informed. That's in a nutshell. We just want to know what's happening and how we're setting the bar and what's raising the bar and lowering the bar. But we certainly don't want to come in on a day-to-day basis and micromanage anything that is happening throughout the district. But just being informed is what we need to be as a board to ensure that we can carry out our role and our duties and responsibilities.
So with that being said, Dr. Kelsey Brown, if you could, you and your team and stuff, if you get those the questions answered for us and stuff, next board meeting and stuff, we'll go back through it. I don't think that there'll be that many issues or whatever, as long as we can get those things answered. I think it'll probably answer those other questions and we can move forward. And there's a lot, and I see all of the work that you guys are kind of put into this and everything like that and stuff. So hence the reason why we have great questions.
I just want us to, again, I need your we'll be on the same page, one, but also, have your blessing so we know that we're moving forward with the work that you want us to do.
And once you got our blessings, we can care as long as we know that we're getting there. That's it. After that, hey, we move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So anything else in relationship to KPI? Thank you very much. Okay, discussion approval of school board appointments. So as we all know, board member Stacy Smith resigned from the board. And so with that being said, we have the opportunity to bring on another board member. Now, with that being said, we have a former board member that is willing to be able to come back onto the board. She's still on here? She might have talked or whatever. She served on the board with several of us already on the board. She is currently she is a principal of a school, been an educator for over 10 years. Children are in the district, highly motivated, successful, definitely wants the district to be able to go into the right direction. And that is Nicole Zick.
And this would be until April.
Yeah, that would be until who came in with Stacy? So is yours this ends April of 24, right?
Right.
Right. And so what she would do is take over the term to April of 24. Yeah, because Lisa,
That was Anita.
No, it was Anita, me, and Stacy, and.
So it was you three?
We were yeah.
So it was me and you three, and then.
There were four of us. We were all on
Okay, all right. Okay.
Well,
So-
it was three of you, but then Jeff resigned, so that's where the fourth one came.
That's
in.
Right.
Yeah.
I think when he left, I think that's when we, no, or did Nicole take over for Jeff?
She did.
So Nicole took over for Jeff.
Right, because he resigned after we got.
Right.
there.
We got
Right.
voted in.
So
Okay.
it's only three in that. cycle.
Okay, all right, and that's cycle. So it goes 2, 3, 2. Okay, all right.
I mean, I just had a question based on filling this board act about the appointment. We don't have to notify anybody or do anything if anybody else wants to,
Well, I know one of the things as president, knowing that if we had a former board member that was able to serve and be able to fill out a term, because now we're talking about less than a year, we would be able to do that.
I don't read that here. Where is that?
Ken, where did we have that at before? Because remember before, that's how we brought we bring on board.
Lisa Zielinski be brought back.
Yeah, because she was
there's no legal rule on how the board selects a replacement. You can, I think we have policy, but you can always vote to waive the policy. I mean,
that's how we did Lisa's, right?
There are times where we just bring someone forward because of the situation that we're in, that that
Yeah.
works. Other times you do the application process,
We're gonna talk about 6 months. Wait, what?
No, not even that.
October, November, December, January, February, March.
Because we have to file our paperwork.
Yeah, fine.
It's really a board.
Really, it's
board
that
decision.
long.
Right. So I'd like to make I'll make the recommendation for Nicole Zick to fulfill the term of Stacy Smith.
Are you making that motion?
I would put it out there for someone to make the motion.
Okay.
So I move, since there's nobody's name behind that, I move for the approval of the appointment of Nicole Zick to fill the current board vacancy as presented.
All right, motion is made. We have a second.
I will second that motion.
All right, so second. I need any further discussion?
I mean, I think Nicole did a good job once she was on the board before. If she has the availability.
I spoke with her. She has the availability and the motivation that she want to be able to do it. And I also think that, the other thing too is being an educator and stuff on the Board of Education board always usually works out pretty well.
How long was she on the board? I was like, 1 year.
She was on the 4th year.
For 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say, I was like, how did I miss her? Okay. Because Anita came in behind that 1 year.
Anita, you filled her vacancy.
Yeah, she filled my vacancy, but then
She got.
so
Yeah.
Nicole must have come in under.
Right. She was under Jeff's.
Okay, and she was only here during to end Jeff's term.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, any other further discussion? You can see none. All in favor, raise hand and/or aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I prefer that we open it up to the public, but sorry.
All right, motion carries 5-1. All right, for the appointment of Nicole Zick. All right, now let's go on to our board reports, SWSA. You know what? I have a problem with the whole thing with this SWSA and the legislative update and stuff because the majority of everything that's coming in is what they think they want to be able to do, and it's not, the vote hasn't come in as of yet for a lot of the stuff for SWSA. There's I think every day I get stuff about what they may want to do and everything else like that and stuff. So I'm not comfortable giving a report out on exactly what's happening with SWSA right now because it's kind of all over the place. Can we do B, WASB update?
Everybody I'm thinking gets the WASB notifications, but I'm just gonna provide just a high level kind of thing that I do. And that is, you're encouraged to apply or to register for the Fall Legislative Conference. Be cued in on some of the actions and activities at our state capitol regarding the public hearing. There was a public hearing today. There will be one on Thursday the 28th. And then finally, if you didn't know, next week, folks are encouraged to celebrate their board. So the Wisconsin School Board Week is next week, October 1st to the 7th. I'd love to do this.
I want food. Monica, I want food. I want a full pork meal. Put it in.
No. That would be the party.
We're going straight to Costco. They got bags.
That's the end of my report.
Yeah, Mike and I get movie tickets. All right. Okay. All right. So let's go on to our Ed Foundation report.
They moved our meeting to last week and I was out of town. So Dr. Brown, did you have anything?
There aren't any updates other than still trying to recruit individuals to be a part of the Ed Foundation.
Do you think that Courtney's gonna continue to try to serve? I think so.
We are looking for a treasurer to fill that vacancy or fill that role right now. So that was a highlight of of the meeting and still trying to think about strategies we can employ to get more people to donate dollars. That was really it.
Whatever happened to the thing when the kids used to go door to door?
It's never known
2023.
go door to door here.
They did ever sure to my house. I'm close to campus. Yeah, they've stopped and asked for like scholarship donations at the end of the year or something.
Because they used to, they used to do come to my. That's the reason why I'm wondering, like, well, what happened? Because I turn around and give them $50. They come through, or whatever. But again, it was them coming to me and being like, hey, you know what I mean? So, but I was just wondering and stuff, so we don't do that any longer, where the kids go out and do that. Okay. All right, safety reasons.
Got a whole liability issue.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's the reason why the Ed Foundation was formed, so that we didn't have to do that, so that we have a larger fundraising, cast our net wider. The money quadrupled as a result, and became part of the United Way donations, all of that. So
All right. Is that the end for the Ed Foundation?
That was really it. That was it.
Okay. Parks and Rec.
Park and Rec, well, I forwarded you the PowerPoint for the reorg that they're planning, or a closer look at the 3 areas, more specifically the Village Park, Berry Chasm Park, and the community area outside the public house. And so if you looked at that PowerPoint, they're going to be doing focus groups, and then coming back with a plan. I know, Dr. Beadle, you had some questions about financing, and they being the company that they're working with, they provide direction on grants and other funding opportunities and other projects outside their budget, of course, and possible naming rights to some areas in the parks. And they have it listed in the budget. There is a portion, I don't know if you looked at the PowerPoint, under budget in the CIP portion. And then she says, starting in 2025, they're proposed $100,000 every year in the CIP to complete recommendations and project identified in the corp. So they're taking ideas. I mean, wow, the gamut of really ideas, like pickleball courts. I mean, everything you could possibly think of to revamp any and all of those 3 areas. I mean, I would say that probably the most limiting would be Berry Chasm Park. It's in a very residential area, so the chances of making that lighted or anything bigger into the nighttime would be difficult because of the residents in the area. More likely, if those things happen, to be at Village Park, or maybe they'll put lights over there and revamp the area for concerts. I mean, this is something you might be interested in, because it kind of goes in with the special events committee. But one idea for maybe over by the public house is a dog park. Well, that's one thing that was thrown out for there. But this company is going to be doing extensive research on those 3 areas that have been picked out, and to report back.
Did you all see? I was looking at the Today Show. It's kind of aside from the parks itself, but in relation to pickleball, where they're renovating malls, and then they're making these huge pickleball court. Now I bring that up because of all of the
Northbridge.
Not North. Well, I thought about Northbridge. For Brown Deer, all of the vacancies we have, and those like TJ Maxx is not there. All the stores that are not there anymore.
Yeah.
Could that be an opportunity or an option?
Perhaps that wasn't
aligned with Park and Rec. I mean, it's not a park, but it's
wasn't part of this scope that they were doing. But that probably would be more village related because it's commercial. But
yeah, but you said
I thought Park and Rec budget came under the village, though.
No, it does. But just as far as they're not looking at those areas to do any kind of work to right now. Those areas that you mentioned, they're only looking at like these 3 park areas.
They don't own those areas, so
yeah, they're only looking at those 3 areas.
I was looking at it from the standpoint, and the reason why I sent the questions that I sent to you was because I didn't remember seeing any of that stuff in the budget that the village was talking about trying to put together, and I was like wondering, well, okay, how's this whole thing gonna get funded and stuff, and then who were they talking to about what needed to happen, and what looks good right now. Is there any chance for expansion? You know, are we fully utilizing what we have?
It's in the very beginning stages where we're gonna do the focus group and what do people want at those parks? They want
Okay.
people on these groups that use the park and go to the parks.
I think that was my question.
I mean, I'm on this committee. They ask me, why I don't go to the parks. Like, we're indoor people, we're TV people. We do this, but there's people out there who see the park.
They're finishing up their 2024 budget right now, so they're obviously talking 2025 to start setting money aside for future things. So they're looking ahead.
All right, cool. That was the reason why when you said that, I was like, I'm glad you said it. Then I got to think to myself automatically, like, okay, how does all of this work and stuff? And because I also thought back to the district too, how does it also impact the district and our kids that go here? Are there opportunity, other things for them to be able to do and stuff like that?
I mean, one big concern is, for instance, we don't have a youth baseball team right now. And this directly impacts everything after that for all levels of high school because we don't have a feeder program. But yet at Ferry Chasm Park, we have 2 baseball fields over there.
That's what, but that's
we want to have a baseball team and we want to keep baseball over there, or aren't we? And we could use it for something else. I mean, that's one very important question that has to get answered before you can figure out what to do with this space, is what you're not going to do with it, that you're currently maybe doing with it. And I hear soccer's really big over there, like kids soccer. So
they want kids over there already doing the soccer.
They want to maybe make it more soccer friendly, but yet so that's just one example of kind of the things that they're faced with.
Right. With the baseball thing though, I could have sworn that there used to be lights at Fair Chasm Park because I played in Brown Deer Little League when I went to Brown Deer School or whatever. And again, but again, I'm just saying that's where, and we played at Fair Chasm.
Played in the dusk.
No, actually, I think that there were some lights that were there and stuff, but we did get when they got close to the evening. So unless they got rid of everything, you know, those, of course, that's years ago, but still.
But that's the main thing that they find.
I don't know what pickleball is. What is pickleball?
But I thought you were about to mention another documentary that I recently watched where they put pickleball courts in communities and the noise is just atrocious for the neighbors.
That was why at Ferry Chasm Park, it was not a possibility. That's limiting. Village Park was one of the areas that they said could be a pickleball court because what they would want to do at Village Park, just one of the suggestions is where the playground isn't feasible because it's like away from everything, move the playground closer to the pond area. Then use that back area for pickleball.
Oh, that's still too close to.
Well, I'm just telling you that's what he had said. Different interesting ideas.
All right, cool. All right. Thank you very much. So now let's go on to item number 7, our board planning calendar. The 28th is the board hearing annual meeting. 29th is PL day, so no school. Homecoming game, October 6th at 7 p.m. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and go Falcons. Let's try to get the W.
He just told me.
Yep, number 7 is the dance at the field house. The 10th is our special board meeting. The 18th, parent teacher conferences in person. Orchestra concert on the 18th. The 19th, parent teacher conferences, which are virtual. No school on the 20th. Our regular board meeting on October 24th. 25th is the choir concert in the MAC. And the 27th is professional learning day and no school. All right, so with that being said, let's go on to our item number 8. Motion to enter a closed session on personnel matters. So would someone like to be able to make a motion to go into closed session?
I will make a motion to enter into closed session to deliberate concerning trial or hearing and discuss personnel matters pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85183.
All right, motion has been made. We have a second?
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Sash?
Peter.
Aye.
Daniels, Ashley, aye. Bacon, aye. Peterson,
Aye.
Robinson, aye. Smith. Walker, aye. And the vote carries 6-0.
All right, so now we will go into closed session at 8:33 p.m. Is this anything that we're coming back out of?
No.
So this is not okay. So with that being said, thank everyone that has been in attendance to our board meeting. We appreciate you. Thank you for taking your time out and have a wonderful evening.